I honestly struggled about how I was going to do this because I was born after the Adam West phenomenon. But I was born at a time when the past was not unknown to the children of the present. I grew up with Errol Flynn and Robin Hood and Tyrone Power and Mark of Zorro. There were references to classic movies and television shows in all of our present-day entertainment at that time, our contemporary 80s entertainment. If you watch the cartoons of the period, they reference Humphrey Bogart and they reference all kinds of cinema of the past. And then you had syndication. We had the advantage of reruns. And so you had Batman on television. And I watched it all the time. I watched it right there with Star Trek and with the 60s Spider-Man animated show. And to me, much like children of the 60s, the Adam West Batman show was like a live-action cartoon. And we took it seriously. We didn't see it as camp. But something else that you have to remember is that, Batman for us in the late 70s and early 80s was still the Caped Crusader. He was still blue and gray. He was blue and gray with the yellow moon around the bat. And, so I struggled to figure out how I was going to talk about this because Batman at that time, the Adam West Batman television show was a syndicated rerun show in the afternoons. And it was not something that was, contemporary like Star Wars or even the resurgence of Star Trek in the theaters. But then I realized that struggle is the perfect way to remember Adam West for my generation. And so that's why this video is a little simpler than other remembrances that we've done. He fell into this kind of pocket for us in the sense that while he was not being merchandised in the 80s, Adam West was still the original Batman that we saw. Unless you count Ulan Sewell, who voiced him for Super Friends, which I also watched. But those two versions were so similar. They were blue and gray, and they were, Caped Crusaders with Robin at their side, and they both drove around in Batmobiles that had the what I call the double bubble configuration. To us, it was the same guy. And I remember when Christopher Reeve was doing the Superman movies, I was so excited because I loved Superman and I wanted to see Linda Carter as Wonder Woman in a movie, and I wanted to see Batman in a movie. And when I thought of Batman, I thought of Adam West. It wasn't so much that I wanted a new actor. You didn't think of things that way. You thought Adam West is the live-action Batman. I'm watching him on TV every Saturday morning. I want to see him in a new movie. And, it, of course, didn't happen that way. You got to remember that when Michael Keaton was cast as Batman for the 1989 film, there was some controversy. It's kind of funny that Adam West was doing the campy, satirical Batman show as a comedy, but we as children saw him as Batman. We didn't see the satire in it. We saw a straight-up adventure show. And then Michael Keaton was cast as Batman, and us as children said, well, wait a minute, that's Mr. Mom. That's the guy from Gung Ho. Why is he Batman? That won't work. And we kept thinking Adam West. That's not to say that Michael Keaton's movie wasn't entertaining on its own level. I mean, it had the most beautiful Batmobile, and it was exciting. It was fun. It was the Dark Knight, and that certainly has its place. But when I think of Batman, I think of blue and gray. Now, I'm not going to be so pretentious as to say, when I think of Batman, I think of Adam West. Because I wasn't from that generation. If you're talking to me and you're about 10 years older than me, and you said that, I'd be like, absolutely. But my Batman was blue and gray. He was the Superpowers action figure, he was Adam West, and he was Ulan Sewell from Super Friends. That, to me, will always be the first thing I think of when someone says Batman. And it will always accompany Robin with it. Robin and Batman together. And I think that's why when my buddy Mike Alonzo from the Clobber in Time podcast recommended to me Batman the Brave and the Bold, it was awesome. It blew me away because it was this love letter to the Caped Crusader and Adam West at times. He was blue and gray as this character right here, as this action figure with the black and maroon trimmed Batmobile, which is obviously a reference to the famous 1966 Batmobile. But that's the brilliance of the Adam West series, is that it walked this line. It was like the first Pixar experience, because when you go to a Pixar movie, you can take your children and they get something out of it. And then when you watch it, there's enough jokes and all kinds of references in there that you get something out of it as an adult as well. And if you go back and revisit the Adam West Batman series, you will note that because it was a primetime television show, it was for both audiences. I mean, as children, we thought it was totally legit. You know, it had the Batmobile, had the Batcopter, had the Batboat, had the Batcave, had all the villains. And then for adults, you had just all these little innuendos and one-liners that made it truly entertaining. I mean, you can watch it today and still get something new out of it.
Hello, Batman.
You're a rare lady, Catwoman. You're right on time.
I own the Blu-ray, and I've been going back through it for the last several months, and it's really funny. I mean, if you pay attention and you're not on your phone, you know, and you're watching it, it's a really entertaining show on multiple levels.
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
I know that a lot of people have claimed that they went through an anti-Adam West period in their lives. Michael Bailey, who runs the excellent Views from the Long Box podcast, which is dedicated to nothing but comic books. I think I've posted it on our Facebook page a few times. Just an excellent podcast. He admitted that while he started with Adam West, he went through an anti-Adam West period. But then he quickly, you know, came back around and started watching it again and appreciated it for what it was. And that's the same for a lot of people. For me personally, it was never a lack of loyalty to Adam West at all. It was just kind of getting interested in the new thing for a while, and I got interested in the Michael Keaton Batman and Batman Returns era, and then especially the Batman animated series. But the Batman animated series, which is one of the greatest incarnations of Batman, began with a blue and gray Batman. Now, I know some people say that the blue was added to accent the blacks, just like in a comic book drawing, but he's literally blue and gray for the first several seasons. So I count that as another example of how blue and gray Batman is awesome and is the best. While I've never shaken Adam West's hand, I've never met him in person, I have been in his presence. And it's one of my favorite convention memories. It was Dragon Con of 2008, I believe. And I was walking around the convention in a Luke Skywalker Bespin outfit. And I went over to the Walk of Fame where they do the autograph signings. And I was just hanging out, waiting for a friend. And Adam West was at his table. And he had a long line of people, of course. And I was about as far from Adam West as I am to this camera right now. It was only a few feet. I was just standing there at the far end of the table, which was close to the entrance, waiting for my friend. And I was standing there, and there was this sort of buffer area with a piece of tape where the next person in line that got to walk up and meet Adam West had about a 5-foot buffer. It's almost like the courtesy space at the ATM. They had this sort of courtesy space lined up so the person behind you wasn't like right up on your shoulder when you were trying to talk to Adam West and get the autograph. And so I was just kind of watching. And somebody that wasn't paying attention, who had no interest in getting Adam West's autograph, goes walking between Adam West and the next person that was about to walk up. He goes flying past him. And I don't remember if he was going to meet Peter Mayhew or he was going to meet somebody, but he went right through him, and Adam West stopped him. He said, "Hey," and he goes, the guy turns around and he's like, "Yes, you citizen." He says, what? He goes, you have gone between me and my fans. You have impeded my interaction with my fans. And you could tell that Adam West was messing with the guy. Like, he wasn't really angry. He wasn't serious at all, but he was in the zone. And the guy knew who he was. Like, he wasn't ignorant of who Adam West was, and he was like, "Oh, Mr. West." He's like, "Just make sure, citizen, that the next time you're walking, pay attention to where you're going. Always pay attention, because," he said, you have gone between me and my people. You've gotten between me and my fans. They are here for me, and I'm here for them. And you have crossed that line. You have interrupted that dynamic." I mean, it was brilliant on Adam West's part. It was a way to get the guy to think about where he was walking without being a jerk about it. I'll never forget that. In that moment, I thought, wow, Adam West is so cool. He's just the coolest guy. I'm sad that he's gone. I mean, I know he lived a full life. He was 88. I know he was ill, and so I'm glad his illness, by all accounts, didn't last long. But you know, he was the Batman at the conventions. Michael Keaton's not at conventions yet. I don't know if we care if Val Kilmer and George Clooney ever go to conventions. Christian Bale hasn't been at conventions. We have had, Kevin Conroy, thank goodness. But as far as the live-action Batmans go, Adam West was our ambassador. He was our guy. And he was fun, and he was pleasant, and he was always willing to interact with all of his supporters. I was, as I just said, a personal witness to his charisma and his politeness and his charm. And when I was getting ready for the Batman movie to come out in the summer of '89, and everybody was ramping up for, Batmania, we went to visit some friends in St. Augustine, Florida, and we were staying at their house, and we were supposed to go to Disneyland, but a local St. Augustine channel at that time, it was a local Florida station, they were going to play Batman the movie as sort of a promotional thing, because Batman the movie was coming out in a week or two, the new Batman movie. And I was like, "Mom, what's Batman the movie?" She's like, "Well, I don't know." And they showed like a bumper for it. They showed like a clip on the channel, and it was Adam West and Burt Ward in something called Batman the movie. Now, I had seen the television show, as I said, but I had no idea there was a full 2-hour film.
That's right, Robin. Our first full-length motion picture feature in color opens a whole new world of thrills.
And I just begged my parents and the friends there. I totally kiboshed the plans for the day, and I said, "Can we please go to Disneyland tomorrow? I have to watch this Batman movie today." And they said, okay, sure. So we stayed at the house, and I sat there on the floor of their house in Florida, and I watched in with commercials and everything, the full Batman 1966 movie. I was blown away by that movie, because it was the Batman I was familiar with, going on a full 2-hour adventure with all of the villains and all of the vehicles. And it was weird, because only a week or two later I would see the 1989 Batman. But right before that, I had this sort of last childhood Adam West reveal with the Batman movie right at the last minute, right before he became the Dark Knight again. I got 2 more hours with a brand new Adam West Batman, a brand new Caped Crusader adventure. So to those of you who have children, I would say go with West, young man. Go with West.
You all right, Robin?
Holy molars. Am I ever glad I take good care of my teeth?
True. You owe your life to dental hygiene. Robin, you haven't fastened your safety bat belt.
Lost treasure of the Incas. What do you want with a book like that?
Who can explain the devious mind of an arch-criminal? You'll never get away with this, Riddler.
And that's just a sample of the exciting exploits ahead in our first feature motion picture.